Before we begin, I want to quickly talk about edubirdie.com. If you're in school or college and are struggling with your academic papers, be sure to check them out. They are a professional essay writing service and can help you out in a big way. The NBA draft is the furthest thing from an exact science, as every year we see players drafted later than they probably should have been and come out and outplay the spot they were taken at. Sure, for the most part, lottery picks tend to be the best players in the draft, but they definitely are not guaranteed when it comes to drafting good players there. Late first round picks and second round picks have a lower chance of panning out as productive players that go on to have good careers, but there are still plenty of players that succeed from those spots. Then when we look at undrafted players, the odds drop even lower and there are very few cases of success stories there. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we will be discussing the story of Allonzo Trier, who went undrafted in this year's NBA draft, but is now playing some very good basketball for the New York Knicks. Before we start though, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, as all support is very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. Allonzo Trier isn't exactly an unknown in the basketball world, and hasn't always been as slept on as much as he was at the time of the draft. His basketball story on the national scene began back in his junior season of high school. He transferred into Montrose Christian School for his junior year, and he immediately started to dominate. He averaged 25.5 points, 4 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 2.1 steals per game, and led his team to a 20-5 record. After the season, he was named the Gatorade State Player of the Year to cap off an amazing campaign. For his senior season, he transferred to Findlay Prep, which has produced numerous NBA players such as Avery Bradley, Tristan Thompson, and former #1 overall pick Anthony Bennett. This season, he averaged 26.6 points and 5.4 rebounds per game, and was named a McDonald's All-American and was invited to the Jordan Brand Classic. He led his McDonald's team in scoring during the game, and he won the co-MVP of the Jordan Brand Classic, which are both tremendous feats and marked him as one of the best high school players in the country. He finished high school as a 5-star recruit and committed to the University of Arizona, which is a very good and competitive program year in and year out. With all of this under his belt before even starting his college career yet, he was the furthest thing from an unknown who had to work his way up through the ranks from the bottom, and certainly did not come out of nowhere. After flying high throughout his high school career, things began to get a bit rocky throughout his time at Arizona. Trier made an instant impact on the team as a freshman, starting almost every game he played and giving them a dynamic scoring punch. He averaged 14.8 points per game and shot 46.6% from the floor, which is pretty good for a freshman. Unfortunately, the bumps along the way started this year as well, as he injured his hand and missed 7 games. On top of that, the Wildcats' season ended in disappointing fashion as they got eliminated in the first round of the NCAA tournament by Wichita State. However, because Trier thought he still had more growing to do and had more to prove, he chose to return to Arizona for his sophomore season instead of declaring for the draft. His sophomore season is where the real bumps in the road began to come up, putting an even bigger damper on his college career. He got into a car crash before the season and was given a certain drug to help his recovery. This drug was on the banned substance list for the NCAA, however, and was labeled as a performance enhancer, so he was suspended indefinitely. He missed the team's first 19 games of that season before the NCAA eventually overturned the suspension and allowed him to return. When he came back, he showed off a much improved game, increasing his scoring and efficiency numbers to 17.2 points per game and shooting 3% better from 3. Arizona also won a few games in the NCAA tournament this go-round, but they again got upset by a lower seed, this time in the Sweet 16. Once again, Trier chose to come back, likely because he wanted another chance at a championship and to show off his game for an entire season, but even in his 3rd year, things did not go smoothly. Midway through the season, Trier tested positive for PEDs again, which is just not a good look at all. In Trier's defense, though, the only reason this happened was because there was still a very small trace of the original substance in his system from the first time he got caught, not because he took them again. He appealed this, and the NCAA allowed him to play only once the substance fully passed through his system, which did not take long at all. On the court, he once again showed even more improvement from his first 2 years, again increasing his scoring and efficiency. He averaged 18.1 points per game this year and shot a tremendous 50% from the field as a shooting guard. Unfortunately, like his freshman year though, Arizona lost in the first round, getting upset again, and after that, Trier finally had enough and declared for the draft. After everything he had been through off the court, his stock was at an all-time low. People questioned the fact that he was suspended for taking PEDs on 2 separate occasions, despite proving that he had no knowledge that there was a banned substance in what the doctors were giving him to recover from his injuries sustained during a car crash. This, by the way, I disagreed with at the time and still think is dumb now, and that's just the way things are sometimes, which sucks. NBA GMs are all so worried about messing up and drafting someone that will have distractions off the court that they tend to overthink things and pass up players for the smallest things. That wasn't the only reason his draft stock was low, though. There were legitimate concerns about his defense in every sense. In his pre-draft scouting report on NBADraft.net, some of his weaknesses were listed as that he needs to do a better job fighting through screens, he loses his man too often, and his lateral quickness was subpar on that end. He also has a decent but not great wingspan at 6'7" when his height is 6'5", which doesn't help his case on the defensive end either. So, with not only a scandal to his name and some defensive woes on the scouting report, NBA teams essentially took him off their draft boards completely, which has proven to be a big mistake for a number of reasons. When the draft finally came around, he went undrafted and was picked up by the New York Knicks. I don't even think the Knicks knew how much of a diamond in the rough they found, but on top of nailing the draft picks that they made in Kevin Knox and Mitchell Robinson, they even hit a home run here, giving this young team 3 very good additions. It first began to become apparent to everyone that Trier was legit in Summer League, where he lit it up and impressed the Knicks enough to keep him around. They signed him to a 2-way contract. A player on a 2-way contract can only be up on the actual NBA team for 45 days max, then they must spend the rest of their time with the G League affiliate to that team. For most undrafted players, this is a great situation to be in, because they are with an NBA team and have the ability to both get playing time in the G League and experience in the NBA. Allonzo Trier, however, is not like most undrafted players, and allow me now to explain why. With Kristaps Porzingis out for most of the season, and the Knicks focused on maintaining cap space for next summer's big free agency, there were going to be plenty of opportunities for unproven guys to get some run. However, there were already a lot of unproven guys already established on the team ahead of Trier, so he had his work cut out for him. As a combo guard, he was competing with Frank Ntilikina, Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke, Emmanuel Mudiay, and Ron Baker, who all had at least some experience already in the NBA and expected playing time. Despite these huge hurdles, Trier continued to work hard and do everything in his power to earn a spot in the rotation. And by the time the season came around, he established himself as someone that the Knicks not only could afford to give minutes to, but actually rely upon to be a consistent scorer off the bench. While it is a common theme amongst young guards to oftentimes play timid and lack aggression early on due to being afraid of messing up or trying to just fit into their role, this was not the case with Trier. What has made him such an impactful player and valuable scoring option is that he is in non-stop attack mode constantly, putting pressure on the defense off the dribble. He has a very polished and strong handle that he uses to attack the basket and shoot off the dribble at a high rate. Shot creation is a skill set that will always be valuable in the NBA, and it's Trier's biggest strength. This alone should have made Trier first-round talent in the draft, but his unfortunate past clouded the scouts and GMs from recognizing this and being willing to take a chance. So far this season, he's averaging 11.9 points per game off the bench in 24.5 minutes per game, and he's shooting very efficiently at 50% from the field and 45% from three. The fact that he's doing all of this on a two-way contract is just nuts, and if the Knicks were smart, they would find a way to restructure their deal with him and keep him on the team for the entire season, and maybe even sign him to a longer-term contract, because if they don't, someone else down the road definitely will. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NBA content coming soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.